Hi, I'm David. I'd like to thank you very much for supporting Scalar EQ. It's been a really great success since its release. I encourage you to watch the 3-minute video and the Everything You Need to Know video, which is in the Scalar EQ link in this channel. But I want to look at 5 simple ways to use Scalar EQ. Mastering on instrument tracks, on groups and stems, also on effects buses, and another very popular way at the moment is on the for sound effects. So let's get straight into mastering. So here I've got a track. It makes sense for me to put Scalar EQ on and then put a limiter on afterwards. It's just generally how we work. We put a limiter on at the end of the channel. So I've got Scalar EQ before. Here's a tune. Hit play. So the first thing I like to do really is the aim is to open up the master. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to use the magic shelves really to bring out some of that top end. And I like to kind of, A and B really at every stage. Yep, so that's bringing out the hats nicely. So I just want to focus that bass a little bit. Yep, cool. Next thing I like to do is I'll do this in other plugins normally, but now I can do it all within Scalar EQ. Just open up the stereo imaging of the track. And once I've got that image nicely, I've kind of brought up the top end, brought up a bit of the bottom end. I like to mono everything under a certain frequency, at least 100 or 200 hertz. Here we go. Great. So it's not uncommon at this stage to kind of take out a little bit of the low mid and then bring up the tops as well. So what I might do here is I might grab the harmonic EQ, but this time I might actually turn it into a harmonic peak plus minus. So what that does simply is it boosts the in key and out of key. Now it's in E minor. Normally you just detect the scale, which I did before the video. So here we go. Now I want to bring out the in key frequencies and reduce the out of key frequencies. Now that's pretty sharp because I'm notching up quite a lot there. So what I might do is turn dynamics on. This is really useful. And what I want to do is just reduce the threshold enough so I'm seeing a bit of movement, expansion and compression. Let's have a look. So that's a nice little bit of movement there, A and B. Yeah, nice. It's bringing out that kind of vocal. And what I want to do, low mid. So what I might do is I might turn in scale off and flip harmonics off. So now I can just hear the grey note shows me that they're out of key frequencies. And I might actually narrow this window width because I only really want to get a few of those frequencies. And I might thicken the range a little bit and I might go hunting and find something that I don't like the sound of. I'm looking for that low, muddy, woolly kind of sound. Yeah, you can hear it clearly there. Notch that out. Yeah, so it's really bringing up the tops nicely. You'll see it. I really like it on the synth sounds, and you'll hear it also on the hats. They'll really bring everything out. When everything drops back in, I'll kind of A and B so you can hear it clearly now. The cumulative effect. Here's the synth sound. Yeah, so it's got that nice effect of really bringing out the vocals and the hats. Yeah, so basically the takeaways are not to do too much in mastering, really to bring out the tops, bring out the bottom. These are focused magic shelves that work really nicely separately in the mid and the sides. And then I'm really trying to bring out that upper mid. I'm cutting out the frequencies out of key and boosting those that are in key. I'm doing it dynamically there, which is really, really nice. And then I've got that low mid ducked in. Okay, let's have a look at another way to use scalar EQ. Okay, so here I've got a sample of some heavy rain. And one of the things I really like to do is bring out the musicality of a Foley recording. So just a recording of anything, really, just to give me an ambience. And scalar EQ, we're finding many of our users are doing this. And it certainly was a byproduct of the intention of Scalar, which was to be a mixing and mastering tool. But because of its ability to do it in key, it's become a very popular sound design tool. So here I'm just sending this rain all the way to a bus. And on that bus, I have scalar EQ. So what I might do, C major, A minor, same thing, but just to make it clear, I might do C major and A minor. And I'm going to pull up 3 really strong harmonic peak plus minus filters. And what that will do is they'll bring up all the key in C major and take it out. But rather than bring up everything, to really bring it out, I'm just going to say only do the root, the major third, and the perfect fifth. And that's going to really give me this extreme kind of focus on that C, E, and G. And I might just pull the window width up and really bring the range of every note to make it really quite thick. There we go. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing over here. So I'm going to grab number 5, harmonic peak, bring it up. And I'm in global mode, so it's applied those changes wherever I go. It's kept the C, E, G transformation, and might do the same thing again here. Go harmonic peak, really bring that guy up. And now I might just really just bring out the window width of each of the sounds. And now I'm going to get this kind of really musical sound. Take it off. Just the rain. Bring it back in. And I've got that real focus, and I can bring up the shelf, bring up the stereo width. I can use filter number 1, and I can, the first node, and I can just do a low cut there, just make the slope a bit bigger. And to really bring that out more, I can pull up another scalar EQ, and I can say, okay, same thing again, A minor, C major, same thing, but I want the focus to be on the C. And now I might just simply just really bring up the range. If I actually just solo that bass, what we'll get is less of the rain and more of the actual effect of scalar EQ on the rain droplets. And it sounds really nice when the actual big droplets start to come in. And it's just a great soundscape to work with any piece of music. And it's just, I'm really addicted to just throwing different bits of Foley at it. Let's have another look at another way to implement, another way I love to use scalar EQ to make sample sound musical. Here's a really unique application for making any atonal sound, turning any atonal sound into a playable musical instrument. So here is me playing squash. I've just brought out a Zoom recorder, recorded a big hit against the wall. Here I've just pulled up the resonator effects, and it's going to basically just pull up the tones of E and A. So really it's just focusing on that E and A, which is the A and the perfect fifth. And it gives us this sound. That's my squash sound with scalar EQ on it. And then all I simply do is just export that sound straight into a sampler. Here's one I kind of cooked before. Here's the sound. I've just brought it in, and I've just made the root key A2, and now I've got this playable sound. I can just play anywhere on my keyboard. I can play really cool chords with it. Yeah, it's really just a completely unique and spectacular tool. I can do all kinds of things. I can move the sample start, so I've got it almost like a full-on orchestral hit. And then, of course, I can reverse it too. Yeah, I love using Scalar EQ to make these lovely playable instruments with absolute ease. Another way we find many of our artists using Scalar EQ is on the effects bus. Here's a track that I've got which is really heavily reliant upon the effects that I'm using, which are all coming out to this effects channel down here. So let's hear without the effects bus on. Now I'll turn the effects bus on halfway through so you can hear what the effects are doing. Yeah, so that's really cool. I like it, but the problem is it's really dominating. I want those effects. So, the common thing to do is pull up an EQ, tracks in A minor. Even before I do that, well, we're already set in A minor by default, but a common thing to do on the effects bus, this is on the effects bus, the Scalar EQ here, is to low cut, okay? So very common to put a low cut, grab a low cut and just say, I don't want the effects on the bottom end. Problem is I'm taking out all that kind of low end in the effects bus, which I don't want to do. I'm going to solo. Just so we can hear what I'm doing, I'm going to actually solo this effects bus, right? So now we're only listening to the effects bus. So, that's a common thing to do, but now I'm losing all the effects. What I want to do is something different, is I want to actually just take out as much of that inharmonic frequencies to leave a lot of the bottom end, but just leave the musical notes of the piece. Okay, so this one's a pretty simple one. Here I have the EQ. We're listening to the effects bus on solo. What I want to do is I'm in A minor, so it's automatically reducing the frequencies that are out of key. Now I'm going to really make this window width wide, and I'm also going to bring the Q right down so it's evenly bringing the notes all the way across those octaves. And then I'm going to push the range right down so it's very, very much taking out those notes. So you can see it actually kind of avoiding the musical notes, which is really nice. And now I'm going to bring this all the way down. I might do that with another one here, bring out all those notes, and I might actually bring a shelf to bring out the rest of the stuff. I might widen it. And why not mono everything under 100 Hertz? So without, and with it on. So I'm really getting all my effects nicely, but it's cleaned up that noise. Now if I was to unsolo it so we can hear that effects bus and the tune together, and let's hear the effect scalars having without, quite muddled when I turned it on. Here we go. Yeah, so it's a really nice way to clean up your effects buses, and it really, you can hear it. Without it, everything seems a little bit muddled and I'm really losing the actual notes. But as soon as I turn it on, you'll hear all the notes pop back up. Really helps on this turnaround, it's really muddy. Yeah, really nice way to clean up those effects buses again. If I solo the effects bus and mute the scaler, yeah, we're getting the music. We're getting all that bottom end movement in the actual original music, but also in the effects bus. Really make it create a lot of nice space by using scalar EQ on an effects bus. Using scalar EQ on an instrument track is a classic way to use any EQ, but using scalar EQ in key really does give you some significant advantages. So the first thing I like to do is detect the key. Here I've got a guitar track played by one of the performers and composers here, Tristan. So first thing I'm going to do is detect the key. So it's correctly got it as C minor, so I can get working straight away. First thing I want to do is clean up some of that grunge and really open up the guitar performance. So the thing I like to do always is bring up some of the top end, those lovely magic shelves. Now that I'm in key, I can just use a harmonic cue and just kind of duck out some of the inharmonic frequencies in that top shelf to make it even a little bit smoother. And now I just want to take out some of that top end distortion and the harmonics that have been brought out by the distortion, if you like. So I might go slightly wider on the cue, bring it down a little bit. Might do the same thing for the low mid. I just bring a bit of the bottom end up. Yeah, that's working really well. Just a little bit of stereo width. Mono a little bit. That's made a big difference. And what I might do is just boost up a little bit of the rest, but this time do it dynamically. And I like to always bring the threshold down so I can see that kind of expansion moving a little bit. Yeah, nice, easy way to use scalar EQ, really. Dipping out some of that upper harmonic distortion, bring down a little bit of the low mid, and then just dynamically boosting up the rest. Here we go. So yeah, so using it on instrument tracks for any type of instrument, detecting the key and then just taking out some of the inharmonics really does open it up. You can hear it particularly when we're playing it against, say, the music stem, which we'll do right now, which is another way to use scalar EQ on a stem or a group. Okay, so this is the guide track for the guitar stem that we were working on earlier. So now if I pop it into D major, if we just listen to that, that's what it sounds like. We've already EQ'd this stem to go with it. If we just focus on this little guitar track, this is a really cool way to just use it on group stems. I like to bring out those tops. And, you know, use this in the sides. So we're really bringing up those tops in the sides and notching out those low ends, and we can do them in the mid too. It's really nice to do that on a stem because it's not affecting it, all of it, so much, and always good to bring up some of those magic shells on the bottom. Without that's the music stem turned on, now the guitar stem on. The guitar, music stem. So you can see that when I'm using them on the buses, I generally tend to either focus the mids or focus the sides. Usually towards the upper end, I put them in the sides, the boosts, and the low cuts or the cutting out the low mids, I tend to generally put them in the mid. So it's just really opening it up. The shelves always seem to work really nicely because they're treating, again, the mids and the sides separately, and a bit of width and a bit of monoing the bottom end. These are really just techniques that I would always use, but having to use a few different plugins. Now I've got everything in the one plugin within Scalar EQ. 5 ways that I like to use Scalar EQ.